Howdy, folks. I spent probably about an hour today going through some old blogs. And I hardly ever read blogs because, face it, I don't type that well. A little bit of nerve damage makes it where you can't touch type, and it's just not my forte. I went through reading them, and I was in a lot of them. And they all have a universal theme. He's fat, out of shape. He can't even breathe. He's loading buckets up and can't breathe. And a lot of time it's because I have this, I don't know what I did with it, this little camera that sits right by my mouth. So you pick up my breathing a lot. But I still do get out of breath. I admit it. Then another common complaint about me is my OPSEC. Look at your OPSEC. Everybody knows where you're at. Yeah, I know. I am in a better place than a city, but I am not in a good place because I'm too close to an interstate. That is going to be rectified here soon. So, but, I've been to other people's retreats. You ain't never heard a word about that, have you? I've been to militia groups. Never heard a word about them either, have you? See, I do know how to keep secrets. And if I don't keep secrets, I give out false information. What did the military had a word for that? PSYOPs, where you give out fake information. And it's a necessary evil. Some say, well, you're not supposed to lie, you're a Christian. Well, this is a type of war. And you have to make your enemy think you're doing something over here when you're really over here. So, in that case, lying to the masses is perfectly okay, because there are so many idiots out there that want to take your stuff. So, in some cases, yes, if you're lying to your enemy, that's part of warfare. Now, back to what I was reading about here. I made a few notes here to make sure I cover them all. You're judging a book by this cover. Here I am approaching 60 years old, 55, and I haven't always been like this. It wasn't until, probably my second or third year of over-the-road truck driving that I got over 200 pounds. Most of my time, Air Force, 150 pounds, 155 at the most. When I went in, I was about 145 in high school. So I was a little bitty skinny fella at 5'9". I wasn't tall, but 5'9", 140 pounds. About average. However, people want to know where I gained this. Where'd you glean all this prepping stuff? It's because I lived it. I literally lived it. We didn't have internet and stuff. So my childhood books that I read were Fur Fish and Game. Were Daniel Boone, Davey, Crockett. Those were my childhood heroes. My parents would get mad at me for having skins, animal skins, on the side of the shed stretched out, drying these dead animals, And, of course, they'd make me throw them away. But, yeah, I was learning how to set trap lines and everything when I was 11, 12 years old. That's where I learned it. Canning and all like that. Well, that was forced knowledge. Because every fall and summer, you had to work the garden. Of course, that was not fun when I was growing up. It was sitting out in 100-degree heat with a hoe. pulling weeds and stuff like that in a half-acre garden. That was just not fun, but we did it. And snapping beans and pulling up the potatoes and tying up the tomatoes. It was just an everyday thing. It was just part of life. That was the daily chores. So that's where I learned what y'all call prepping now. We just called it a way of life. Now, what I want to know to all these bloggers that say that I am, what was it, the word they used, unqualified, my methods are unsound. You talk a real good talk, but I don't see you walking the walk. You know, I may be out of shape now, and I may not be able to walk the walk right now, but I sure did years ago. I walked the walk. Calluses on these hands. You know, dirt. We swam for fun in the sewer water. Some people call it a creek, but if you think of what all goes in the creek, it's basically a sewer. Probably why many things don't bother me that other people get sick off of. I grew up in the dirty water. You know, most people would get food poisoning these days, and I wouldn't. It's like, okay, whatever. And, oh, my recipe here for iced coffee. Not bad. Sugar-free, of course. I did use Splenda. Yeah, I know. Chemicals bad for you. But you take an espresso machine and you grind the coffee real fine, and then you fill it, and then you pour yay much espresso in there, and some powdered milk, and then once you get it all dissolved, you add ice, and of course it's so hot the ice dilutes it. Not bad. Kind of highly caffeinated, but don't recommend drinking this every day. But I got a bunch of stuff to do here in a little while, so that little caffeine boost today won't hurt me. Anyway, that's why I love it when people judge books by their covers, because a lot of these good-looking, well-sounding people that run these emergency prepping channels, you know, they'll sit there and they tell you all this wonderful stuff, and most of it's pretty good information, but would you trust them? You know, maybe some of the ex-military gives you an extra checkpoint on there, but there's a lot of people out there that are claiming to be emergency preparedness experts, and they're selling consulting services that have never walked the walk. They've never actually done it. You know, even when I was truck driver, I got to visit nice disaster areas like Katrina, Rita. I didn't actually go into Rita, but I was just outside while everybody was evacuating, and the ATMs all the way up into Dallas were sucked dry from people evacuating Houston. And I seen them fighting. They're out there, families fighting. You know, it's just ridiculous. And they fought because they were not ready. They did not think it would ever happen to them. And preparing for local hurricane-type disasters are so simple. That's not like preparing for a biblical disaster. Keeping prepared for a hurricane disaster is like, can you keep an extra couple of tankfuls of gas stored away? And gas goes bad, so you need to pour it in your vehicle, let's say every 6 months. If you have a SUV with a 25-gallon tank, you would have 50 gallons worth of reserve. And you, instead of filling up your SUV, you would pour it out of your can into the SUV, then take the cans and fill them back up, and you would always have an extra 50 gallons or a couple of tankfuls. And a small trailer, I'm not talking about big. I mean, you're not going to take your whole house unless you got money. If you got money, you can afford to do better. But one of these small little U-Haul trailers, they'll haul 50 gallons of fuel easy. Enough to get you to Dallas or 100 miles inland where the winds won't be so bad. It depends on the size of your family, too. You know, you may want a little bit bigger trailer so you can bolt the trailer down to the ground and hunker down inside your vehicle. And tow straps work wonderful with those big old fence posts and the fence post driver. They'll keep your vehicle from shaking so bad all night, you know. Little things like that. Hey, there were people that survived hurricanes and stuff before we had cars. They had in their horse and wagons, they just battened down the hatches, you know. Kind of interesting story. Even the horses survived tornadoes and stuff on the prairie. Amazing that the instinct of a herd of horses could run down in a gully and they would all lay down. All the horses, instead of being up in it, all the horses would lay down and get close to the ground and let the tornado go over the top of them. So I take it that horses are smarter than humans. You know, humans run around, tornado, tornado. Suck dirt. Get down. So anyway, this is what I'm making this video about is so many people just look at my shell. And I admit, I'm the first to admit that I make people mad, but I just saw a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, on Dr. Oz, that TV show, there were women talking about their problems, and one of the women said, "I have belly button odor. What should I do about it?" Apparently, Dr. Oz and these women did not watch my video of a couple of years ago where I said, wash your crack. Y'all women need to learn that we have cracks everywhere. A little soap and water in your crack will go a long way. Be sure you rinse real well, because if you get soap up your butt and you don't rinse it out, you are going to have a rash, burning sensation, and you're going to be walking like the Aztec two-step in a short period of time. So, wash your crack. I mean, I know I don't put it as tactfully as Dr. Oz did, but, you know, you parents should be teaching your children how to bathe themselves. Little things, little tiny things like that can go a long way. And maybe I'm not the person to say it because I'm offensive. When I tell you to wash your crack, you know, you go, oh, what's your blah, 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 blah. But anyway, if I get the point across, you parents, if you ain't teaching your children how to wash their crack, you need to crap smacked out of you. No, you need the crack slapped out of you. That's what. Because you ain't got enough sense to teach your children the basic necessities of life. I mean, parents, why? Seriously, you can't teach your children to cook a meal without a microwave? How to wash themselves? Is that beyond your parenting skills? Teach your children how to go to the grocery store and look at the label on what they're buying? You know, hey, here's a piece of meat that weighs 5 pounds, and it costs $20. Here's another piece of meat that weighs 5 pounds, costs $10. You know, it comes from the same portion of meat, except one has a bone and the other one's boneless. You're paying for a bone. For instance, your T-bone steaks. Did you know the filet mignon is on one side, the New York strip is on the other side of the T-bone? Little knowledge things like that can go a long way, even though nobody can afford beef these days because we don't have inflation. Your toilet paper rolls shrink. Yeah, that's right. Toilet paper rolls are shrinking. The paper towels, yeah, paper towels, used to be about yay much longer. Toilet paper is the same thing. Or the holes in, or the holes in the center get bigger, but it can look more. It's a deception. And as long as you run around with your head stuck up your butt, you know, it's going to keep getting worse and worse. So, America, get your head out of your butt and pay attention to what's going on around you.